Hi, everyone. Coach Mo here, live for Motivational Monday. And if you're not familiar with who I am career coach Mo Faul. I spent 30 plus years figuring out how to be successful in my career so you don't have to spend 30 plus years figuring out how to be successful in your career. Suffice it to say, over that time period, I figured out a lot of strategies to help me move into more and more successful roles. And by the time I was finished with that 30 years, I was doing quite well. And now I'm the founder and creator of the Kick-Ass Career Workshop, where I help women up-level their careers. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I see all the time. And that basically is the truth that your traumas are showing up in your career. And go ahead and let me know that you're here. It's always great to see you here. How do you bring resilience into the equation after a traumatic work experience? Oh, I'm going to let you know that, Anne-Marie. Happy to have your question here for today. So here's the thing. I'm just going to talk about how traumas show up in your career first, and then we'll talk about the stickiness of it, and then we'll talk about a little bit about resiliency. But what I would prefer to use is that we actually move powerfully through it. So resiliency to me is sort of like we take the punch and we sort of bounce back. I like a more active verb tense. Resiliency is great because it is a characteristic type of word. So if we're resilient or not resilient. So certainly if you have a choice, you want to be resilient, but is resiliency enough? So let's talk about how traumas show up in your career. First of all, what is a trauma? So a trauma is really a nervous system template that is encoded in your nervous system, in your neural pathways, that is there to protect you from being injured again on the same type of injury. And we could use the example super easily of being in a car accident, even if it's just a little bit of a jarring car accident, your car gets hit, maybe there's a bit of a fender bender, but you're not rushed to the hospital type of car accident, but you're hit. If you've been in those type of situations, and hello everyone, nice to see you. If you've been in those types of situations, you know that you have this immediate rush of adrenaline that causes your whole body to sort of go flush. And then all of your muscles sort of get a little bit weak. You might feel a little sick to your stomach. You might get a little sweaty. And you feel tapped out. I'm going to tell you when this recently happened to me in August. I broke my foot out walking. And I knew the second I took that step and heard the crack in my left foot that something bad had happened. And I was immediately overwhelmed and immediately just in fight or flight mode. And I was total survival mode. I really couldn't walk. I couldn't bear weight at all on that left foot. So I had a massive trauma pattern coming through my body, an injury pattern, let's call it, an injury pattern traveling through my body. And what happened for the next several hours is my body is sending me signals that I'm in trouble, that I'm in danger, that I need to do something quickly and massively in order to prevent myself from getting injured further. As it is, I limped over to like a gatehouse at a housing development near where I had been walking, asked if I could sit down. My partner went to get the car. She had to walk/run home and get the car. It ended up raining. I mean, it was not a great situation. By the time I got home, I was so exhausted. It was like this blanket of this massive tiredness came over me. Now, I know what was going on. I had a massive adrenaline spike. I was pumping out adrenaline and dealing with it so that I could deal with the trauma to my foot. And when I was back home feeling safe, all of a sudden my body basically collapsed into an absolute exhaustion. And what happened is that my nervous system got a massive, massive dose of templating. Here's the thing, I didn't want to walk on that foot. I was limping around. I actually didn't really want to go to the doctor either, but I eventually did the next morning after some urging that there must be something wrong with me. Um, it was a while before I was going to feel comfortable walking on that foot. Months, actually. And so that trauma to my foot caused my whole sense of self to be in a series of doubt, questioning, wondering if I'd ever walk properly or specifically walk, run for exercise. I was full of doubt, full of it. It absolutely overcame me. I was on one of those knee scooters. I was doing everything I could to survive and get along, but I was hobbling by. Let's equate that to a job loss, or like the woman I just spoke to on a clarity call, a demotion, a massive demotion. Oh, broke my heart. A job loss, you're suffering the exact same break. Something that you relied on, something that you counted on is no longer there. And I know there's a lot of people that are dealing with this due to the circumstances of the worldwide pandemic. A lot of industries are going wildly crazy and successful, and a lot of things are going on, but there are some that are severely hit. So a job loss is a break in something that you were counting on, and it was a template of certainty and safety and security about who you are and what you could count on in your life. Just like my foot. I could count on my foot. I was walking in the morning. I was exercising. I was enjoying the health in the morning and all that sort of thing. And then it was a break. And that break caused my nervous system, the neural pathways that govern who I am, how I feel about myself, to have a different pattern. And that different pattern caused me to have deep wounds about how I feel about myself, my health, my safety, my security, deep wounds, pushing down into all that I know to be true. Here's the awful thing about trauma. It stays with you. And you keep playing it over and over again. Could I have done something different? Could I have made a move earlier? Could I have walked differently? Did I wear the right shoes? Or in a job situation, maybe I should have seen this coming. Like your brain is searching for signals, answers, and clues to how you could have avoided that pain. It's natural to have that. But the problem is when you replay it every time looking for that answer or those clues, you're repeating the trauma pattern, you're repeating the break. And your nervous system gets another dose, albeit smaller. It gets another dose of the hurt, of the insult, or of the assault. So the nervous system keeps getting the hits over and over again. Here's the crazy thing. When you talk about it, it's the same thing. You're getting another nervous system hit. And so talking about it is going to do injury as well because your nervous system is going to replay it. And so what happens is that from the time that it originally happens, that original break, to all times that you're running through it again in your mind, to the times that you talk about it, and then you go to someone and you try to get help, and it's like talking about it again, and you continue to replay that hurt. A trauma pattern, or what we would just consider to be a permanent template in your nervous system about that hurt, gets re-energized over and over. And here's the thing, it gets so deep inside that it triggers the other times you've been hurt. So now all of these past wounds come up and you get reminded of all those past wounds. And now in the case of a job loss, all of those wounds and the job loss make you feel totally insecure, totally not worth going back in the job market, absolutely ravaged with will I ever, unsure of yourself, and absolutely like blown away with your self-esteem going, to the basement. And this persists until it's healed. Just like my broken foot. It persisted until it was healed. You know what? That broken foot was in August, or 8 months ago. And I'm still feeling it when I walk. I can't walk every day because there's still a little tendon thingamajiggy muscle memory thing that's still kind of, ugh. And so I have to be careful. Now, if that's a job loss, 8 months later, you're still feeling it, you're not interviewing powerfully. You're not applying for the jobs at the level that you lost. I can't do that again. They'll downsize you, they'll get rid of you. And if you were fired, if there was something that you feel that you did or that was a situation you couldn't control, you're really in job trauma. Or if you had a toxic environment or a toxic boss, forget about it. Massive trauma to the nervous system. So you convince yourself that that level of role is something beyond you. You convince yourself that that performance level was fake and maybe you're not capable of it. So what you will do is downgrade yourself. Most people following a job loss, which then turns into a job trauma, a nervous pathway, I don't want to say nervous like, oh my God, I'm nervous. It's a neuro pathway. So it's embedded in your nervous system. And that neuro pathway will prevent you from going for it. It will shut you down, slow you down, and you will marginalize and downsize your next opportunities because you're trying to protect yourself from that hurt again. It's a devastating blow to have job trauma. And your personal traumas get energized as well because the nervous system goes, oh, this feels like that. Oh, this feels just like that. Gosh, maybe I am not worth anything. Maybe I am just a loser. Maybe I just can't ever amount to something. And what happens, poor human soul, is that you get overwhelmed in your neural pathways that this must be true about who you are. And then you start showing up that way in your life in all areas, and you start isolating and shutting yourself down from friends and family. And you might start making excuses or being overtired, and maybe that you start drinking a little bit more, eating a little bit more, sleeping a little bit more, making excuses for not feeling good. Perhaps migraines, blood pressure, things like that start to creep in. Once the body starts having real symptoms, you know you're farther down this pathway of trauma. And when we work with our clients in our kick-ass workshop, very often we're coaching them through trauma patterns. Now, sometimes it's as simple as a job loss, and that's not simple. It is a trauma pattern. Typically, job loss does lead to ingrained neural pathways that have to be moved through. So back to the resiliency question that someone asked earlier, I think Anne-Marie, thank you very much for that question. So resiliency is, oh, I've been injured before, I can bounce back, and you sort of do. But here's the thing that I would be concerned about as a coach and someone who helps women really up-level and empower their lives. Resiliency, I don't know that that is deep enough to really solve and come out strong on the other end of a trauma pattern. Now, I'm not a trauma specialist, so if you have severe trauma and things that have really, really ravaged you, you might want to make sure you get another level of help for that. And there's therapies and things like that that I'm familiar with, but I just don't do. But in a job trauma or trauma that you're navigating through life, there are things that you can come through. And there's more of an empowerment of healing that and separating yourself from identifying with it. So often our story and our trauma becomes intertwined with each other, and it becomes one with who we are. I'll give you an example of another trauma that I faced, and that was my breast cancer in 2008, which now seems like it was so long ago, but it feels like it was like a couple of months ago. And I was in a severe life and death situation for a while there. And so that coats itself in me having an identity with survivorship, and I'm resilient and I came out of that. But there's an element of healing that I had to go through, and it took me a long time to go through the elements of healing that I was going to be okay. And to be honest with you, something that deep and that threatening sometimes takes years. But in the case of job trauma, we can't wait years to bounce back. We can't wait years. So we have to do some very specific, proven things to move our nervous system and our body and our thought feeling patterns more toward an empowering picture of who we are. And we can do this pretty quickly. In our workshop, in the work that we do, we have a reasonably quick pathway to take you through this pattern and into something more empowering. Yeah, Michelle. It takes a little while. It takes a little while to let's just call it snap out of it. As a matter of fact, you sort of can't really snap out of it. You have to move through it in a way that you're recognizing what it is, and you're allowing yourself to move through the feelings and the patterns. Yes, indeed. So all of these things are part of what makes, let's just say, the whole thing. Let me just see if I can manage some of these things in 1 second. All right. Um, 1 second. I just want to get all of these comments off. How do I do that? I don't know. There we go. Thank you. So how we move through our trauma patterns and get to a new sense of self is by actually creating a new neural pathway about who we are, and we blend that with moving through the trauma pattern and getting past the neural pathways that are convincing us of something else. Because really it's all just neural pathways, really, once we've recovered officially from the injury. So if you have a job loss, the injury really is to your self-esteem, sense of worth, perhaps questions about your competency, your past capacity, capabilities, things like that. And then what you want to do is recover your income and recover your job title so that you don't have further injury, which would be monetary, financial. And your job title is a monetary consideration for your career. So you want to recover both. And doing so, you have to have a better story on who you want to be. And if your story of who you want to be is not strong enough to overcome your trauma pattern, then the trauma pattern is going to basically like win. So all of your work has to be inner work about creating a strong enough identity about who you are and what you're all about. When that doesn't happen, the trauma pattern will silently direct your decision-making, your thought, feeling, energy, and it will manipulate on its own, because it's part of you, it's part of your energy, it will manipulate your attractor pattern. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you don't know about attractor patterns and how the universe works in the quantum field where like attracts like, again, it's a universal law. I'm not making this up. It's the way the universe works. In the quantum field of energy, when you're having negative thought, feeling patterns, you're basically creating an attractor pattern of other negative thought, feeling patterns. So not only do you feel bad inside of yourself and your soul diminished, but you're literally walking around with this Velcro of negative attractor pattern. And it's a double whammy. And it can really slam your career down big time. Tens of thousands of dollars, job titles go tumbling down. We just had a beautiful woman in our workshop who hadn't worked for 2 years after her job loss. She just couldn't come through it. And we talk about resiliency. I mean, she just didn't have enough in there to be resilient with. So resiliency also assumes that you have a little bit of a reservoir to pull from. And you know what? Maybe you do in the first month or two. And I'm not talking about even a bank account. I'm talking about emotionally, psychically, spiritually, from the soul level. If you don't have enough to pull from at the soul level, you're going to dry up pretty quickly. So after several months, after a year of job trauma and it not being resolved, you're pretty down there. So this beautiful soul, 2 years later, she was ready to change things, and she was so coachable, which is a little unusual with that long of a time of having a trauma pattern that's festered. Super coachable, and she did great in the workshop, landed a brilliant, wonderful job paying, I think it was about 25 to 30K more, and had a couple of other offers on the table by the time she graduated from a 12-week workshop. And then she was able to execute on one of those dream jobs. She's moving, 60K increase in the job that she had previously. So she was rocking and rolling. And those are the things that we love helping our clients with. Moving through a job trauma that then incites other trauma patterns, but then crafting an identity that's stronger that can then replace the identity of a trauma pattern. Not fake. No, we do it through soulful alignment. And we do it through some very special techniques that, frankly, I've developed in concert with all of the wonderful personal development and neurological development tools that are out there. And we package that together with your soul power and give you great strategies to move forward and coach you along the way every single week, getting you coached. It becomes quite a positive, absolutely beautiful process of bringing our ladies up and through a very difficult situation. I gotta say, thank you, Michelle. Nice to see you here. I gotta say, the things that we see in our 12-week workshop are very difficult to deal with. And to be honest with you, left to their own, they're not fixable. And that's why so many folks who book clarity calls with us, they've got things that they've not been able to fix. And it's no fault of their own. These are deep issues that need expertise and need help. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping women up-level their careers, because the things that are stopping you from doing it, the patterns of thought, feeling about who you are and what you're capable of, are slowing you down and pulling you backwards. And if it's a trauma pattern, it's very difficult to get out of it on your own. And I'm not saying that to threaten you or to do anything else like that. I'm saying it because it is true, and we've seen it hundreds of times. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, we've seen it thousands of times on the clarity calls that we've done over the years. And sometimes the trauma pattern is so difficult that making an investment and saying yes to yourself and getting the help that you need is outside the grasp. Unfortunately, I spoke to a woman who lost her job last week, 5 minutes after she found out. I don't know if you're on this Facebook Live, darling, but it's difficult to make a decision, empowering decision in that short period of time of receiving the trauma. But it's the best time to do it, because then the trauma pattern can't set in. You see, once the trauma pattern has more time in the nervous system, those neural pathways keep getting reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. Hey, Paige, nice to see you here. So when those trauma patterns get reinforced over time, now it's harder to dig you out. And to replace those neural pathways with something productive and necessary is what we do. And so the sooner you can get at it, the better. Now, with that being said, we've helped women, like I said, this woman who was just in our workshop a couple of months ago, 2 years. That was rough. We're up for it, though. We're up for it. If you're decisive, coachable, and resourceful, and you're ready to rock and roll and work with an expert to solve your career problem, we are here for you. The way you do that is this. You have a clarity call with myself or one of my team members, and it's sort of the luck of how we organize our schedule every morning. We see the calls. Um, and we sort it out on that clarity call. We're going to sort out what's going on with you and what's really happened and how and why and what's up with that and then we're going to talk to you about where you want to go. Honestly, having some desire in your heart is a big part of the solution. We can't put that on your heart, but you know what? All souls, every single soul on this planet wants to do more and be more. It's the nature of who we are as human beings. Lisa, thank you very much. I'm going to have to lift my head above your comment. That's so good. Yeah. You know what? So that's a really excellent point, Lisa. So here's the thing. When you have some job trauma patterns and there's another occurrence of something negative or jarring, like a pandemic, it's going to bring stuff up. Two choices. Push it down, don't deal with it, repress it, and make it a stronger energy drain, or deal with it, go into some non-resistance around it, and bring it forward. But here's the thing, if you don't have the tools on how to do that, it's nearly impossible because most of our brain mechanism is preventing us from feeling feelings that are big and strong. So unless you have the guidance and the tools on how to move through big, strong feelings, your defense mechanisms are going to force you to push it down. No, I don't need to feel that. No, I can't feel that. I'm not able to have that. I can't. This can't. I'm going to blame the pandemic. It's a rationalization, and it's what human beings do. We blame external affairs for our failures or our less than performance because it just feels easier on us and it's not as harmful. And that's how human beings function in life most of the time, don't we? Again, not blaming you. It's normal human behavior. But what we're all about in the Team Coach Mo and with our kick-ass workshop is to help you overcome normal human behavior because left to our own devices, we're going to struggle, we're going to suffer, our fear brain's going to take over, and that attractor pattern doesn't really bring great things. What brings great things our way is our soul's beautiful, vibrant nature. But if you're over the age of, 20, you've probably got some injury to that and you've pushed down feelings and you might feel like you can't or you whatever. And in our 20s, we're trying to come through and be powerful. In our 30s, we're sort of like trying to sort that out. And then in our 40s, we go, what the hell just happened? How come I'm not where I want to be? And so we help our ladies get into a powerful position, reclaim their souls, get really clear on their strategies, start healing the traumas, healing the wounds, and bringing their vibrancy back to life. I love it when the partners, husbands, spouses are energized at the same time. And all of our ladies say how much better a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend they are through the work that we do. So it's a lot of fun to help women move through and past and rise up above these traumas. We do it all the time, and I'm proud to say that myself and my coaching team are really experts at doing this, and we do it well over the 12 weeks of our Kick-Ass workshop. Now, here's the thing. Most women that we work with have had issues for decades. And so we're getting that first layer and that first level of success moving through and that level of power coming through again. And it's great when they land a new job. It's great when they find their clarity. It's great when they have this great new stuff happening. And, sometimes it takes a little bit longer than that to work everything out. And we're there, right there, cheering them on and being their advocates through it all. So traumas show up in your career, and your career could indeed be one of the traumas. So your traumas are showing up in your career, like it or not. If they're not healed, and if you don't have a strong, empowered soul coming through as your main personal signature and mission. And if that's not your default mechanism, your trauma is going to be your default mechanism. And it's going to be somewhat harmful to you as a human being. We don't want that. No, no, no. Because that costs you not only emotionally and spiritually, it deadens your soul, makes you feel kind of lousy, but it also sort of robs you from being the best person that you can be, and it definitely robs you of earnings. When your traumas are showing up in your career, not only do you feel bad, you don't feel vital, you're not thriving. And because of that, you're not attracting the right level of role. So your contribution level is less than what it could be, and your earning power is much less. And it's usually to the tune of $20,000 to $50,000, just because that's mostly the earning power that we see taken away from women who are suffering in their careers and not where they want to be. They're usually giving up that level of earning power. And to tell you the truth, it's a big price to pay for having an ongoing trauma pattern. It's really a big price to pay, and it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. I'm finally they're finally totally ready to up level their jobs in a few areas. The governments are starting to come back. So Facebook user, this is exactly what we help solve. So if you have had a clarity call and chose not to work with us, book another one. We'll talk to you again. If you haven't booked a clarity call, go ahead, please, and book a clarity call. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. So mofaul.com/live clarity is where we can help you sort it out. Again, we talked to thousands of people throughout the year, thousands. I think this year we'll probably talk to almost 3,000 or more people. And 300 or so will join our workshop and get the help that they need for a variety of reasons. But let me tell you, we are all in on those 300 people. All in. All in. We've got a great team. We've got a great crew of folks taking the clarity calls and sorting that out with you. Great coaches doing that work. And we're here to help you. Your traumas don't have to direct your life and your career, but they will if they are not attended to properly. And that's not anything I want you to have to live through. I did it myself. I slogged my way through. I found out some things. I learned some things about myself, about life, about trauma, about all the techniques that we use in the workshop. And let me tell you this, our traumas basically are the thing that pushes us forward. And that's sort of like an inside out thing, because most people think that traumas happen to us and that we are the victims. But when you really look at this from a perspective of you developing as a human being, as a soulful, powerful person, it's the thing that kicks you in the right direction. But if your fear brain is taken over by it, which 99% of human beings, that's the way they deal with it, you're going to miss the message, you're going to miss the lesson, and you're going to go into suffering and struggle mode. And that is not where the learning is. You have to learn and grow from your traumas. And it's 100% doable. And it's what we do really, really, really well in our workshop. We help you learn and grow through the trauma. Again, the word resiliency was used a little bit earlier. I find that word to be partial truth, because resiliency doesn't denote the deep level of power that we help our clients come through and come up to. There's a deep level of certainty about who you are at the soul level that we want to help you get to, and we do. And you are worth it, and your traumas don't need to win, but they will if you let them. Your traumas will win, and they will own you. They will own your career, and they will rob you of hundreds of thousands of dollars over your career. We help our ladies get that back so that you gain those hundreds of thousands. There's a woman, we actually did an interview with her. As a matter of fact, I probably want to bring her interview back out for circulation because it's really a great story of how she came alive. She was so overworked and so traumatized by the demands of her work that she was hospitalized for mental breakdown. And it was the doctors who cared for her who basically gave her the first dose of reality. And when she got that dose of reality, literally in the hospital, and she told me this story, she was literally Googling career coaches. I popped up in a Google search. She had a clarity call with one of my team members. She joined our workshop. She's been working with me, with us, with our team for a little bit over 2 years. She has had a 75% increase in her pay. She has had a hundreds of thousands of dollar increase in her confidence and in her contribution in the world as a professional woman. She's a better mom. She's a better sister. She's a better friend. Her whole life has come alive because she decided to learn from her trauma instead of being defined by it. And you know what? I just saw her on Saturday on a coaching call. And I know that when we were coaching, and she had a fantastic week last week, best week of her entire career. And she deserves all the kudos, all the celebrations over it because she has worked herself to a beautiful level of expression, intelligence, contribution, influence, and impact. And it's wonderful to see who she is today. And she's in her very early 40s. She's got a wonderful career ahead of her. She has helped make herself, which will probably be millions of dollars in extra earnings, because she had decided to come alive after a trauma pattern and not let that trauma pattern sidewall her. She got coached, and she was committed, and she was resourceful, and she was decisive about who she wanted to be and the fact that she did not want to land in the hospital again with a nervous breakdown. That's the work we do. As you might be able to tell, I'm very passionate about it. I love lifting up our women in the workshop. I love changing lives. I love helping women be better mothers, sisters, spouses, daughters, friends, professional contributors, make more money, have more money to enjoy life, have more money for their future, have more money to enjoy memories and vacations with their family. That's what I live for. And so if you've got a trauma that has got you by the neck, we're happy to help you sort it out and to release you from it. Because there is no life on this planet that should be captured by a trauma. Let's free you from that. Let's free you from that, and let's cut the chain of the control that that trauma has for you for once. Lisa and Paula, absolutely. Well, I'm working on that. More interesting of us has your back. The universe does have your back, Lisa Kramer. And here's the thing. The more work you do toward realizing that, the more you're going to see it in your life and in your world. And bravo, by the way, great article on LinkedIn to sort out and talk about the wonderful opportunities we all have coming through this global pandemic and coming, I don't want to say I'm on the other side, because the whole point is that we are blossoming through this. Again, it's a worldwide trauma. Who are you going to be? Who have you decided to be? Who are you birthing right now for yourself and your soul? That is the key to how this will affect you. Choose the higher self. Choose the bigger version of you. And she will emerge in a whole new way. Keep choosing her. Keep choosing her. If you don't have experts and a coach to help you navigate where your career wants to go, and if you're allowing, God bless you, the traumas to dictate who you are and what you're all about, you're going down a road that's going to hurt and it's going to cost you in money and everything else. Let's get you on the right road. Let's get you in the lane of your genius, and let's help you claim who you are. Those traumas are manageable, but you need expert help and you need some tools and strategies. And frankly, a great group of women to surround yourself with so you don't feel so alone. It's what we do in the Kick-Ass Career Coaching course, and I'm happy that so many of you here know our work and are totally rocking it. This is career coach Mo Faul here for your Motivational Monday. Do not let your traumas rule you, or run your life. Come through them in a powerful way. Have them be your deepest lesson of what brings you back alive. If you don't know how to do that, give us a call, book a call with us, and we'll help you sort it out to see if we can indeed help you. We only talk about our help and what we do for those who we know we can help. Rock on, and let's keep going into your brilliance and your greatness. I call it kick-ass. Let's keep that going for you. This is Coach Mo. Find me everywhere on social media or at mofaul.com. See you soon.